Eric Young and MVP take up 90% of the show. Jeff Hardy's running around in a mask, and Kurt Angle is on the sidelines in our TNA review.
Ryan Pimentel and Dan Hatt here from the cheap seats. We are here reviewing Thursday, May 15th edition of TNA Impact. And interesting show, I should say. Kind of a lot going on. It was taped a few weeks ago when they had that giant cluster of TNA Impact tapings. And what do you think about the show overall? We'll get your take first, Dan, and then I'll chime in with my thoughts.
This is probably the first TNA show I've watched all out in the last, I'd say, year.
Oh, wow.
Sound too sarcastic. Suddenly I remember why I don't watch this, and I mean, I try to be neutral, but I don't know how. I believe 14 minutes in, you said, I quote, 14 minutes in, give us time to breathe, unquote.
Yeah. I mean, the first 14 minutes alone, you had, the opening segment with, Eric Young, MVP, talking about the MVP heel turn at the end of last week's Impact. And, shortly after that, you had Magnus and Bram in a segment. You had, TNA and Taz doing a hype of, Dixie and Bully. You had Jeff Hardy cutting a crazy promo.
Asinine, completely.
Yeah, I mean, this Willow character is.
I had to take notes. Because it was too much to take in all at once. Eric Young has, hands down, as we both pointed out during the show, the most generic theme of any wrestler, let alone your world champion. I would never know he was coming to the ring, and I should be excited for, him with that music. Give him something distinguishing.
That's true. I mean, you look at Daniel Bryan, who's often compared,
Good God.
He's compared to Eric Young because they both have beards, and obviously TNA hotshotted the title to.
A beard is where their comparisons should begin and end.
Yeah,
I mean, Eric Young is a comedy relief character. He has been, he does his job well for the last 10 years or so that he's been there, but he's not a world champion.
The odd thing is, though, you have a guy who's been used for comedy probably the vast majority, maybe 80% of the time since 2005, since Team Canada. 2005, 2006 was around the time Team Canada broke up. So you have a guy who's, vast majority of his career in the last decade has been as a comedy relief character. This would be kind of, maybe not as drastic, but comparable to giving Santino a title run, after turning him into a more straight-laced character instead of a
2010 Royal Rumble win?
Yeah, exactly.
I believe it was 2010, correct?
I think it was 2011. 2011
yeah.
in Boston, I believe.
Yep.
But anyway,
MVP's opening promo there from backstage, I will say he's inspired. He's playing his character well, but at the same time, why do I care? He plugged the Avengers in that for like 30 seconds and called them a Hulk, called Eric Young a Hulk, and he has no Avengers, etc., etc. It was a bunch of garbage.
MVP is doing a good job. He's doing good with what they give him.
He's doing a good job, but I mean, still, he can't save the promotion. He's a former United States champion, and that was the top. He's got to be over 40 now.
Yeah. But I mean, he did have a lengthy prison sentence, which does kind of knock off a few years. I think MVP has, he has a good amount of time to offer a company. Is he a main guy? Is the question. We're gonna find out. He's gonna sink or swim as a main heel against Eric Young in this program, because obviously they're going full steam ahead with a heel MVP against the face Eric Young at Slammiversary for the title.
my biggest issue with it is he came in a few months ago. He was gonna promote all this change and he's going to fix TNA, and he's so inspired to fix it, and he's going to do this and that, and he wins that big battle I read about, I believe, the 4-on-4 or something like that. 4-on-4 match, that he wins it, and now all of a sudden he's a heel, and he's taking over Dixie Carter's role. More believably, but at the same time, he's filling the position.
It's more of a... Dixie Carter's more of a Vicky Guerrero, and MVP is acting more like a Triple H now.
But Dixie owns the company, so in reality, I mean, you should have Dixie Carter in a Triple H role.
True, but I mean, Dixie Carter can't wrestle, so I mean,
well, Triple Stephanie McMahon role then, you know.
Yeah, I think that's more plausible. But the thing is, you know. Stephanie's very effective in that heel authority figure role.
Absolutely.
Dixie just isn't a compelling television character, and Dixie just hasn't really translated since she turned heel, you know. And the fact of the matter is, you know, heel authority figures, it worked once when you had, you know, Austin versus McMahon. They keep going to the well. Stop with the heel authority figures.
Well's dry.
It's bone dry. It really is.
Then you get that Willow promo that you mentioned a little while ago. I will say about this, Mick Foley did split gimmicks better.
Of course. I think most. I mean, I don't even think he's really a split gimmick right now.
Well, no, but you know, translating into a different character, I'm saying, you know, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mick Foley, Mankind. I mean, he's played all those roles and he's played them successfully. Willow is just absurd.
He's an indie wrestling character. He has no place on national television, and the fact that he's getting airtime, and the fact that TNA is probably paying Jeff Hardy very, very handsomely.
At least somebody's getting paid well.
I mean, there's a handful of guys paid handsomely on that TNA roster. Jeff Hardy is one of them. So why hide him behind a mask? Give him a black and white umbrella.
Former world champion in the big place, in the big house. You know.
His run at the end of WWE, I mean, he kind of forced his way out of there with some personal problems, but, you know.
The handicap match, I noticed they promoted the handicap match prior, and then when they come back from the commercial break, they question whether Bram and Magnus are going to accept the challenge or not. I mean, you already promoted it. Why would you question it?
Yeah, that's
poor editing. Poor
TNA logic for you. I mean, they had a long time to edit this show, so the fact is there should be no, you know, even announcing mistakes in this telecast.
Bram's a typical TNA big beard, as I'm calling them now. Big guy, big beard.
Kind of looks like a mix between maybe Gunner and Paul Burchill.
Or James Storm. I mean, you know, it's...
Yeah. Generic kind of look. He's a British guy. He wrestled in NXT for WWE.
That's the only thing that differentiates him, though, is that he's English.
Yeah, he's married to. He's Ric Flair's son-in-law. He was married to Charlotte Flair. So
he was.
He is. He's still married to Charlotte. Yeah, Bram is. So I'm kind of surprised.
She's doing better than him.
Yeah.
I noticed him and Willow flopping like fish during that match.
I
made a note of that. I don't know why. I didn't know what else to write.
It was really generic. It was really short. It was really... I mean, there wasn't much to say about it whatsoever. I mean...
Magnus and Bram had the match won. And then, you know, instead, hey, let me throw in this pry bar, hit him with it, so we can lose the match on purpose. Just cover the guy. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And... then beat him with your pry bar if that's what tickles your fancy. I don't know. It's just terrible.
It almost seems like they're going with a face turn for Magnus. I mean, it almost seems like, you know, he didn't want to use the weapon on Willow, but then again, maybe he wanted to win the match instead of being disqualified. So there's that. I mean, there's a 4-minute storytelling match, and I mean, who cares about Bram? They haven't given us a reason to really embrace or despise this character at all. So
he had the EY segment where he trashes MVP's office, and security keeps him back, and he gets by them by saying, "You don't get paid enough."
Yeah, it was
moving on.
It was pretty bad. He destroyed the office and knocked down some pictures, and that's about it.
Yeah. And then they get to Dixie Carter's house. There's tables all over the place. Dixie fears Bully Ray. And then Bully Ray calls, instead of waiting for... Dixie's at her front door, alright? And this is why this is stupid. She is at her front door. She's going to go in the house. That's where she's headed. But instead, Bully Ray calls her. "Yes, I'm calling from inside your house." What? Why tell her? Yeah. There's no surprise in that. I mean, this is worse than the B horror movies I enjoy.
Wouldn't any logical person call the cops when you find out a man who's...
B&E above the knee, breaking and entering?
Yeah. I mean... he's trying to put you through a table. That's his whole mission, apparently, is to put Dixie Carter through a table. Is it? Well, I mean... That's why he's spray painting all these tables. Dixie fears Bully, and that's why this whole angle is going on, is because Bully wants to take out Dixie Carter. So when you get a call inside your house and you're right outside the house, wouldn't you give a call to 911 and say, "Yeah, there's a man trying to get at me inside of my house. Please come as quick as you can and take him out."
That would be logical.
That'd be the only logical thing.
Gail Kim versus Velvet Sky. I never actually heard Gail Kim issue a challenge other than mentioning the beautiful people's name. And then, what's the other one's name? Madison? Is that correct?
Madison Rain, yes.
Says, "Yes, we accept your challenge." And then, Gail Kim's out of the ring. Velvet Sky's distracting the ref. Piss poor, honestly. And he's not counting. Just counter out. Instead, if she's supposed to be so hot, why not, seduce the ref in the corner or something? Play up to that. Instead of, "Oh, look at me. I'm talking to you. Don't counter out," so that, Velvet Sky or Madison Rain, rather, can attack
Angelina
her.
Love. Angelina Love's her name.
Oh, so we're completely wrong.
Madison Rain is the third member who turned face. I mean...
They all blur.
They kind of blend in after a while. Angelina Love did return a few weeks ago. Convinced Velvet to ditch Madison. Velvet is with Angelina now. Madison Rain, I don't know where Madison Rain is this week. She wasn't on the program. It seems like Gail Kim is kind of in that Madison Rain face role. We didn't see any of any other knockouts at all either. So I'm not sure where TNA is going besides Gail Kim versus beautiful people.
Ugh.
So, and Gail Kim's face turn, I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere. It was kind of hastily
It's typical.
produced. It's kind of like TNA said, we're going to bring back the beautiful people. Gail Kim is such a valuable asset, yet she can't be a top heel woman
With the beautiful people
around. So we might as well turn Gail Kim, because she is a valuable asset. She is a very good wrestler. So you might as well turn her face again. I mean, she did get a very good reaction. I mean, she got one of the loudest reactions.
If that's not edited. Tough to
it's
say.
Possible, but I mean, sometimes you can scan the crowd, and I was scanning the crowd. The fans seem to be really enjoying, Gail Kim's new face turn. So I mean, maybe it'll rub off soon. But for right now, I think Gail Kim is pretty successful. So let's hope she can keep up the momentum. And
paper bag on the head. It's absurd. Anyways, moving on to my favorite segment of the show, probably yours, and it's my favorite because I hate to love it. The Menagerie.
The Menagerie.
Versus the recently departed Frankie Kazarian. Crazy Steve here. Rebel's good looking. They dropped the brother and sister angle, I guess. I thought they were going for an incest thing until you told me otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I remember WWE even trying to go with the Paul Burchill, Katie Lee thing that didn't really pan out for very long.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard any mention of
brother
sister in a few weeks, so I think it's dropped.
I found Taz and Tenay trying to be funny with their honking jokes and whatever else. I thought that was painful.
Well, I mean, it was no different than Michael Cole and JBL and Lawler. during the very good WLC match that was on the pre-show of what was it, Extreme Rules. Just cracking constant jokes. I mean, that was actually a really good match. So that was more egregious than this because this was not played as an actual match. There was no wrestling going on. It was straight up, two and a half minutes of straight humor, and it's good. I don't even have the words to say.
It's a comedy shtick.
It's a comedy shtick, but at the same time, there was no wrestling involved. So I think it was a misuse of TV time because these guys aren't established as are they faces, are they heels? It's kind of like the Adam Rose gimmick on WWE's side. People don't know enough about these. I mean, they've had promos, they've had vignettes, but who are they fundamentally? And are fans supposed to be behind them or think they're kind of pretentious and insane? Or
a frog splash on the balloons.
Crazy Steve did he actually missed most of the balloons, and I think he was supposed to get right on the center, crushed maybe 6 or 7 balloons. Ends up hitting maybe one of them for his frog splash, and ends up popping the rest of them himself.
He ducks and sends Kazarian on the outside, and once again the referee fails to count Kazarian out. He was out for at least a minute, and the end came when Crazy Steve, how do you even take that name seriously? With 2 Z's. Pantsed the referee, he got himself DQ'd. I don't know if this is how you compete with the big WWE brand, if you want to, I guess you're differentiating, the two, but probably not in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this wasn't a match. I mean, to quote Taz, this is the exact quote, I didn't even know a match was going on. So when your announcer says I didn't even know a match was going on, and, the ref DQs one of the wrestlers because he's pants, I mean, to me, there's plenty of space for humor in professional wrestling, but sometimes you got to kind of be a little more subtle than this. This is very broad type humor. I think Dan might have liked it more than I did.
I didn't really like it to like it, though. I liked it because I hated it so much. That'll get old in a week.
Exactly. And I don't see where they're going to go with this that would make it have any longevity whatsoever. It's just I could see this
for a guy trying to make money, for his family. What the hell's he doing?
Yeah, the whole promos were very, very vague. They had something to do with a flood and his father. They never really explained about a carnival.
Then why should I care?
I mean, I don't know. Those promos weren't enough to get me interested in this faction. And the faction, though, for the first 2 weeks, aren't getting it done in terms of, captivating the crowd or getting over enough to justify their spot on only 2 hours of TNA television a week. I mean, that's it. That's all they have. And they're wasting it on acts like this. It's just kind of disturbing. Plus, you look at now, Christopher Daniels, Kaz, they're out of here. They're gone. They're on the indies now, and they're a hell of a lot better than, no offense to Mike Knox. I'm sure he's a great guy, but, Mike Knox is...
better off there. They'll get to wrestle.
Mike Knox is Mike Knox, yeah. Mike Knox is Mike Knox. He'll be on TV for a little while, and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian will get decent paydays in Ring of Honor or whatever independent companies pick them up. But at the same time, it's going to be kind of sad not seeing them on TV every Thursday. They're an entertaining tag team, good mid-card heel act for the last few years, so it's kind of disappointing. But what are you going to do?
Then we go to the backstage segment there, and Austin Aries is shown for a glimpse, and I thought he was heel a few weeks ago. Now he wants to kill MVP. He gets sucker punched. Oh, here's MVP and Eric Young brawling again. I mean, this is, I think, segment 3 or 4, 55 minutes into the show with the two. And it just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Aries had the title, they don't really know what to do with this character. They don't know whether to make him face. They don't know whether to make him heel. They keep switching him around. I think the fans want to support him, but at the same time, I think TNA wants him to be kind of like the anti-authority answer to CM Punk. I think that's the direction they want Austin Aries to go in. I think they're better off making him into a kind of a second in command to Eric Young and perhaps a faction to oppose MVP's group. But so Austin Aries, hopefully Austin Aries will be given something to do. He wasn't featured very much tonight, but he's a very valuable wrestler they have, and I hope they don't let him get away like they've been dumping Daniels, Kazarian, etc., etc., etc.
Then you go back to Dixie's house again. Spud gets taken in and beat down and whatever. Then you get the match between James Storm and Mr. Anderson. This entrance is dated. He hits himself in the face with the mic and plays it off that he meant to do that. I mean, I was hitting myself in the face watching this whole show.
Yeah, the fact is Mr. Anderson barely got a response when he came out. The fans really don't care about Mr. Anderson. James Storm has turned heel. When James Storm was really over as a face, the fans kind of aren't sold on him as a heel. They changed his theme music, which was very, very good. And, I don't know what they're doing with these two characters. I don't know where they fit in the whole universe of TNA. The roster is so thin right now, you'd think these guys would have defined roles. But the fact is, I think Mr. Anderson is better off as a heel, and I think James Storm is better off as a face, yet they're both reversed now, and it's just a jumble.
Right.
I don't know what more to say about that.
I don't know why I'm supposed to like Anderson now all of a sudden, aces and eights, whatever. Then, they move on to the triple threat. I didn't, have any complaints, but I didn't see anything, mesmerizing in that. Sonata wins with the double overhook. Good wrestling, I guess. You need some at some point during a wrestling show, so.
It was probably one of the better matches on the show. It was only about 6 minutes. The fact is, Sonata and Tigre Uno, they have good chemistry, but the fact of the matter is it's getting old. And it's been about a month, maybe two, that they've been, fighting.
You build a feud on two guys. I don't know about Tiger. Can he speak English?
He's from Mexico, so he's a Mexican wrestler against a Japanese wrestler. They have good chemistry. They've put on good matches, albeit short. They're not really given a lot of time in there, but they're solid wrestlers. It's just since Sonata, it seems like they're trying to build Sonata into a big star in TNA. He has the X Division title. He has the rub from the Great Muta endorsing him, and adding DJ Zima Ion into the picture isn't really going to give anybody a rub because he hasn't been relevant in many, many, many months.
The Jersey Shore gimmick is so dated at this point. Exactly. The show hasn't been on TV for 2 years now or something like that.
Exactly. I kind of miss the old Zima Ion, which was a lot less.
He passed his hairspray to one of them now, I guess.
Yeah.
Gunner's getting involved with Sam Shaw. Not much to say there, other than they're trying to find something for him. But those segments are gimmicky. That of Psycho.
It seems like the segments themselves are too overproduced. They're shiny looking. They're clean. The camera shots are very cinema-esque. It just looks completely fake. It's weird. It's kind of antiseptic. It's not a good look for TNA whatsoever. It should have been more grimy, more kind of handheld video camera style, which TNA actually does well. So that's why I was kind of surprised that it looks so professionally done. I don't know what they were going for here, but Samuel Shaw and Gunner. Gunner has gotten over a little more as a face. He had a really good match against James Storm at the last pay-per-view, probably the match of the night. So, I see improvements from Gunner. I think he could be a top guy with more consistent improvement. But the thing is, it just seems like kind of Gunner was thrown into the Samuel Shaw feud now just because he needed another guy to feud with. There really was no organic build or start to this feud.
We also don't know where it's going, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, but, where can it really go? He's in an insane asylum, so
he's going to bail him out.
Yeah, perhaps.
We got an update on Kurt Angle with his torn ACL. He's going to be sidelined for 4-5 months or so. Honestly, excuse me. To be fair, I don't want to see Kurt Angle back in a TNA ring.
No, absolutely not.
I would like to see one last hurrah in the WWE. And, just that he was made there. That's just kind of where he belongs. I think. I don't like anything about him at this point other than his actual wrestling. He puts his heart into it, and I guess is my problem. And, he's working with crap.
I think the problem is he's just too reckless out there. He's doing dives off steel cages. He's working a very intense, stiff, almost a mixed martial arts type style. It's going to catch up to him, and it obviously is catching up to him. He can't be expected to do this anymore full time. He just
right. Give him one last hurrah with a WrestleMania end, and
if Dixie Carter sends Kurt Angle full time in TNA again, she is absolutely out of her mind, and she's absolutely...
Well, she doesn't care. I mean,
she will care. She will... I hate to say this, but she will care if Kurt Angle ends up... If Kurt Angle ends up being one of the next wrestlers, because he has a lot of the, kind of, symptoms and abuses that wrestlers have when they die prematurely. I hate to even say that, but Kurt Angle is a huge health risk, and, his body is so beat up that he really has to watch how much he has to give. And I almost hope one more match in WWE, one retirement match, WrestleMania 31 maybe, 32 maybe, just one
sooner
last...
the better for him.
What is that?
Because I would rather see him there next year if he's going to be there as opposed to... I mean, he's not getting any younger. And like you said, he's a health risk.
Yeah. I think, he's a WWE guy. I never really liked his TNA reign, his TNA stint. I thought he was constantly misused. But, he was often the best thing on TNA shows. He's been so good in TNA. He's almost elevated the product by default, by the guys around him who haven't really stepped up. And
that's all. Yeah, I mean, that's that.
We also wish him the best. Both from the Cheap Seats team, wish Kurt Angle a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
Legend, first ballot Hall of Famer, and truly one of my favorite wrestlers to watch perform. I just hope he can, retire in one piece while he can still walk, and
right.
Just a great wrestler overall. So get well soon, Kurt.
The Dixie's house is terribly easy to get into. Ethan Carter III was lurking around in there somewhere. And with one punch to the back of the head, Bully Ray's unconscious. Nobody thinks Bully Ray fears Dixie. What is there to fear? I mean, it's just garbage. That's all there is to that. And in the main event of the evening, once again, too much MVP Eric Young. This is the, 5th or 6th time that we've had to see them in one night. According to results, I believe it's next week. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
You see Kenny King. The end of the match comes when Kenny King comes out and attacks, I believe. Yeah, he attacks Eric Young. And then Lashley comes to make the save, only for the shock of, a new Nation of Domination 2014. The new alliance of Kenny King, MVP, and Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is used so sparingly as it is. I don't think anybody cares about him.
No.
So why put him in this prominent role? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Eric Young gets power slammed through the chairs and has a seizure from the looks of it. I mean, just bad selling.
Yeah,
And then I looked up at the crowd when they stood in the middle of the ring, when those three guys stood in the middle of the ring, and you hear the "You suck" chants. And I don't know where they were coming from because nobody in the crowd was reacting at all. So, needless to say, a pointless main event. It just to get through another week. I don't know what you thought of it.
I mean, to me, and this is just my opinion, but this is just complete and blatant ripoff of WWE's current storyline. You have Eric Young winning the title WrestleMania week, playing the role of Daniel Bryan. You have MVP playing the newly turned heel authority figure, who also occasionally wrestles, who turned on everyone's favorite, his former ally. That would be obviously Triple H. So Triple H and MVP are pretty much the same character. And then you have the young, cocky, brash upstart, which would be Kenny King, who is playing the Randy Orton role. He's kind of the young up-and-coming guy who has potential, who's trying to prove himself. And then you have the big part-time, muscle-bound, dominating force, which would be Batista and Bobby Lashley. And when Bobby Lashley's music first hit, that pop wasn't impressive whatsoever. It wasn't it wasn't what you would expect for a part-time guy like Bobby Lashley. It just wasn't impressive whatsoever, and that was before he even turned heel on Eric Young.
And the crowd was mild.
The crowd was mild throughout the show. I mean, these characters shift around so frequently. They change their personalities so often.
Everybody has an agenda that changes every 2 weeks.
Yeah, the crowd's so sanitized and dull. And it's not just because they're tourists. It's not just because they get into the show for free if they go to Universal Studios, City Walk. It's because of the very confusing product. And so much happens in 2 hours of programming a week. With WWE, you can understand they got 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, main events, superstars, pay-per-views, etc. With TNA, you have 2 hours of Impact a week. Maybe 3 hours of pay-per-view, once every 3 months, 2 months these days, because they only have 5 or 6 pay-per-views a month.
I thought it was 4.
Maybe it was 4.
So that'd be every 3 months.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, TNA Impact is booked like an episode of Warzone. Like, that's really what it should be called, because it's just constant battling. If somebody's fighting somebody and it's chaos.
And it just doesn't it doesn't make sense. The feuds aren't intriguing enough. The characters aren't defined enough, and just some of it is just poorly thrown together. You have this Bram character. Nobody really knows where he came from, why he's here, who gave him the job, how he knows Magnus. We know virtually nothing. Why did Gail Kim decide to turn heel? Decide to turn face from heel. We don't get an answer for that.
Austin Aries, same thing.
Yeah. Are they going to explain where Kazarian went after this new faction decided to decimate him? Yeah. I say decimate in comedic terms and embarrass him.
Yeah.
Did he leave? Did he leave the Impact Zone with his head?
I'd leave too.
With his head hung in shame because he had to wrestle in a match where the ref got pantsed, which led to a DQ win for him.
At least he went out on a high note if that was his last. How'd you win your last match? Ref got
that weird Mr. Anderson James Storm match, which Mr. Anderson James Storm, they aren't defined characters. Mr. Anderson has an old shtick. James Storm is not an over heel. You have that Sonata. He needs some credible competition. He needs some...
And a translator.
Yeah, but...
I can't get into somebody who can't speak English. I don't know what the hell they're saying. They don't even caption it.
Well, put Sonata...
I got it.
They were captioning it, but...
Oh, they were?
They were captioning it.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah, but... It was pretty dull stuff anyway, but, put Sonata in a ring with Eddie Edwards. Give him 20 minutes on Impact. Let him tear down the house. Why don't they do that?
You already have the over-the-top shtick in WWE. If TNA wants to be known as anything, I still say that they go back to their roots of, 03, 04, and be something based on your wrestling.
Be known for the X Division.
Exactly.
They were at the TNA was at their best when they had the X Division. They had guys who could flat out wrestle, and they didn't go over the top with the characters and the gimmicks and the matches. They weren't overbooked. They didn't have a bunch of WWE jobbers and mid-carders.
That is why I watched.
They didn't have constant face heel turns. They didn't have all these Dixie Carter home invasion segments that make absolutely no sense. What else is there to say besides TNA is probably in the worst shape it's ever been? I mean, this company is on its deathbed. You have Ring of Honor now starting to... Ring of Honor is solid, but you have Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling. So those are two competitors, if they get a good deal, which is possible. Because if I'm Spike TV, I say, you know what, TNA? We gave you enough time to deliver ratings. You hired Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, ratings stayed the same. They were flat. Okay? Now they're starting to decrease. They're not going any higher. Let's put it that way. They aren't going any higher.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are going to sign Ring of Honor. We are going to sign Global Force Wrestling. One of the two. Honestly, it can't get worse than TNA. TNA is a brand that is not dead, but good Lord, it is crippled. It is in a coma. There's no awakening it. If I'm the Carters right now, I change the name of the company. I completely start all over again, and I beg Spike to keep me on for another year because,
massive overhaul needed. I mean, I consider TNA, I hate to use this comparison here, but the same state as Rey Mysterio's knees.
Yikes.
Well, call it like I see them. Curious on your thoughts on TNA this week. Comment below.
You can even find us on Twitter now. We have our own Twitter handle. If you want to reach us, add us, comment, reply to us, retweet, all that good stuff, you can reach us at FT_cheapseats. That is FT_cheapseats.
And I think that sums it up.
You guys have any questions? Any comments? Any breaking news you guys want to break? Any inside scoops you guys have that we should know about? You can just reach us at
ch3apseats@gmail.com.
That is ch3apseats@gmail.com.
That's this week's TNA review.
So we will be back soon. I am Ryan Pimentel. I am here with Dan Hatt. This is from the Cheap Seats. We will be back soon. Enjoy your wrestling, folks.